we've got to talk Thursday Night Football, and what a game it was. Falcons 29, Buccaneers 28. We got a lot to talk about here in this game. An upset win for the Atlanta Falcons and Kirk Cousins, the man of the hour. You're seeing him on the screen right here. I mean, we got big performances to talk about here with the Atlanta Falcons, but how could we be a fantasy football podcast and not start off talking Kyle freaking Pitts, baby? Unbelievable. Kyle Pitts turns in a historic performance. And yes, I'm not exaggerating, a historic performance. Kyle Pitts, 40.1 points in half PPR scoring, is the best tight end fantasy game since at least the year 2000. You're looking at the list right now if you're with us on YouTube. Number 2 is Shannon Sharp back in 2002 with 39 points. Darren Waller in 2020. Taysom Hill in 2024. Was that a quarterback game or a tight end game? Are we cheating the system here? I don't know. Regardless, Kyle Pitts was the cheat code for the Atlanta Falcons tonight. The man was unbelievable. 12 targets, 11 catches, 166 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Where the hell do we even begin, man? I mean, we have at least been talking about this on this show. No one saw this performance coming, obviously. This is one of the best games, again, like we said, for a tight end ever. But 7% of Kyle Pitts' career fantasy points happened in this game tonight. I know I've mentioned this before on the show, and I'm sure it's an eye-rolling thing for me to talk about, but I'll say it anyways. My personal trainer is a Buccaneers fan, and anytime we're talking Bucs, usually he always brings up like, man, how come everybody seems to have like their career best game against us? Like, what is up with Todd Bowles' defense that we just give up the best career game to everybody? He texted me at halftime and said, Kirk Cousins about to have a career game against us. I text back, buddy, Kyle Pitts is having a career performance against you right now in the first half. This is literally happening. And it truly was not just the best performance of Kyle Pitts' career. It was one of the best performances we've seen from a tight end ever. 3 touchdowns, 166 yards, unheard of stuff. And again, we have been talking about this building onto the show. We can shout out Todd Bowles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense for allowing this to happen, but it has been building not to maybe this nuclear level performance, but Pitts has led all tight ends in target share over the last 3 weeks. And I think there are a variety of reasons of why this might be happening, but the biggest one to me, obviously, Drake London is not there. That's a big one. Of course, he's the top target earner on the team, but at the same time, like the way that you want to optimally use Kyle Pitts is kind of similar to how you want to use Drake London. Kyle Pitts in this game, 30% slot rate. He was out wide on 17.8% of his snaps. According to numbers I'm looking at right now, the rest he spent as an inline tight end. Of course, you want him as an inline tight end, obviously, at certain times, but you want to get him on the move. You want to get him rolling after the catch. 7.4 yards after catch per reception in this game, which is sort of in the ballpark of what he'd been doing previously. You saw it in this game where it's a lot of the horizontal breaking routes, whether it's breaking inside, breaking outside, just getting loose in the flat. His one long catch and run. I mean, there's so many plays. How could I even isolate one? But there's the one long catch and run where there's an in-breaking route that puts the defender in conflict and Pitts just breaks out to the outside. That is where he becomes the unicorn that he was supposed to be. And I have said this for years on this show, that the trap of Kyle Pitts, the siren song of Kyle Pitts, comes for these offensive coordinators where they want to line him up as the X receiver. They want, oh man, he's so big, he's so fast for a tight end, we could actually put him out at X receiver. Well, congratulations. Then you have like the 25th best X receiver in the league. It's not a mismatch. Said it on the show, I think with Nate this week. It's not a mismatch when you do it like that. When you move him around the formation and then you're able to leak him out in the flat and stuff like that, get him on these quick in breakers rolling after the catch, that's when he truly becomes this mismatch advantage and he can have these monstrous performances. I mean, look at the routes we're showing right now on the screen. If you're watching with us on YouTube, if you're listening to the audio version, go check out the Next Gen Stats route chart. A lot of it is just simple in breakers, little quick flare outs. Like, I don't even know what to call some of these routes, but it's a lot of horizontal breaking stuff is the long and short of it. There's only really like a couple of true vertical routes. And even then those came from condensed where he's inside as a slot receiver, tight to the line, just the slight move tight end type player, F position, whatever. That's where he's able to really, he became the first tight end with 3 touchdowns from detached alignment since Travis Kelce since week 11, according to Next Gen Stats. Yeah, this is it. Caught 8 of his targets for 124 yards, 3 touchdowns when aligned out wide or in the slot. This is what I'm talking about here. Condensed out wide receiver and as the flanker, off ball, or in the slot, this is when he becomes a mismatch player. I don't really know what the hell to do with this performance from Kyle Pitts. I mean, listen, if Drake London's not in there and you got him on your fantasy football playoff roster, you're starting him every single freaking week. I mean, shout out to Justin Boone, had him ranked as tight end 4 this week. I mean, that's why Boone is our rankings guy. That's why he's the absolute man. Yeah, that is kind of where he's going to be ranked rest of the way, and he deserves it. He's playing up to it. The volume is there. Kyle Pitts is only 3 months older, according to Pat Thorman, who I believe is second place behind Boone in the rankings contest. So Kyle Pitts is only 3 months older than Travis Kelce was when he caught his first NFL pass. Kyle Pitts is barely 25 years old. I mean, come on. These Kyle Pitts age stats are outrageous. Travis Kelce didn't make the Pro Bowl until he was 26. And I will say, going forward for Kyle Pitts, he's a free agent at the end of this year. He's going into this is the last few games of his potentially with the Atlanta Falcons. We'll see what the Falcons end up doing. I have no idea because they're like maybe the coaching staff sticks around, but I think the front office is out of there at the end of the year. I don't know if this win changes things for them, but my calculus has been that they're probably not bringing this group back next year. So if they don't, then we're talking about, is the new staff going to be enamored with him, or is he a guy that is going to go elsewhere? And is it a team that can craft a usage pattern similar to what we saw tonight? Those are the big questions for Kyle Pitts going forward. We'll have plenty of time to talk about those and address those. But the reality is right now, this is not some one-game fluke. He has been building to this. Like I said, 29% target share in the previous 3 games. In this one, he's clearly and obviously the lead dog. He has just an absurd amount of usage here. 29% targets once again. Like, this is what he's been holding at. So it's shout out to Kyle Pitts. He's a guy that has just gotten absolutely dunked on by the fantasy community for being a disappointing player. Shout out to him for this performance, man. It's awesome to see a guy like this turn around. I hope he can keep it up because this was super fun to watch, whether it's with the Falcons or another team. We got to talk about a few other performances on the Falcons. I know I just spent a long time blabbering about Kyle Pitts, but again, how could you not if you're a fantasy football podcast and you're coming off Kyle Pitts' historic tight end scoring? Just staying on the line of embarrassing stuff from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. Kirk Cousins. Let's talk about Kirk Cousins versus the Bucs versus everybody else. Kirk Cousins versus everybody else, not every other game, not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the last 2 seasons. This is an 18-game sample. 13 touchdowns, 18 interceptions, 5.99 adjusted yards per attempt to 78.5 passer rating. Negative 0.07 EPA per dropback. Kirk Cousins versus the Buccaneers the last 2 seasons. This is 3 games, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception, 10.2 adjusted yards per attempt, 0.35 EPA per dropback, and a 125.2 passer rating. That is outrageous. Like, Kirk Cousins, if he could just play the Bucs every single game, if he could play Todd Bowles every single game, he's the best quarterback in the NFL. It's wild. I think there's some real, again, football applications to this here. Kirk can diagnose coverages. He can beat blitzes, which is what Todd Bowles is doing. And, that's just all you need against Todd Bowles. If you can just diagnose the coverages on the back end and you can ID the blitzers pre-snap, and Kirk obviously was under some pressure at times tonight, had a fumble in this game at one point too, you can beat this team. Took 1 sack actually tonight, which was pretty crazy. I thought it was more than that. It was only 1 sack on the night. So again, that's just pretty embarrassing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. Really impressive performance from Kirk Cousins. His 11th career game with 373 plus passing yards and 3 touchdowns. Only 8 other quarterbacks have as many in NFL history, according to Hayden Winks here. So outrageous stuff from Kirk Cousins in this one. Again, is it going to be sustainable? Probably not, based on the history we've seen here. If Kirk is starting the rest of the season, obviously, he's going to go somewhere else and compete for a starting job next year. Shoot, maybe Kirk Cousins makes sense as the Bryce Young competition. next year, if depending on how Bryce finishes the season. I don't know. I'm getting too far ahead of myself here, but maybe he makes sense as somebody's bridge quarterback. But the problem is every other game in the sample here is not good. And versus the Buccaneers, that's where he has his best moment. So I don't want to overreact to this one, but again, shout out to Kirk Cousins. And last shout out on the Atlanta Falcons, because this is a hilariously non-deep team, especially in the wide receiver room. The only other guy that's worth talking about is Bijan Robinson, 19 carries, 93 yards, and a touchdown. He did lose one fumble. I thought that might have been a drop. It was called a fumble, whatever. He also chipped in with 8 for 82 as a receiver, 4 first downs on those 11 targets. So it was the Bijan and Kyle Pitts show, and Kirk Cousins was just out there delivering the football consistently. Pretty impressive to see. Bijan Robinson gonna win you some fantasy titles. 8 catches, man. He was electric as a wide receiver. There was the 1-2 where he was deep down the right sideline where, man, he almost got that right foot in bounds, and that would have been an absolutely amazing catch for a running back. I really do think Zach Robinson's like okay as an offensive coordinator. And as I said, I don't really know what's going to happen with this coaching staff in the offseason. I was pretty much by midway through the second quarter ready to say it's enough already. Let's wipe the slate clean of this group. But maybe this win changes things. Maybe if they can keep some momentum, maybe Arthur Blank doesn't want to blow this whole thing up again, although there's plenty of reasons to be concerned going forward about the build of this team. I just think Zach Robinson is okay, but some of these talents could really, I think, be further maximized in a different system. Robinson included. As good as he is, I still think there's another gear to his game. Tyler Algier, I believe, is also a free agent this offseason. So whether he's back or not could be pretty consequential to Bijan Robinson's fantasy outlook next season. But yeah, I did not expect to come on here in any universe and lead this show with like a long winding discussion about the Atlanta Falcons, but they deserved it tonight on offense. They played up to it. They're two young players because Kyle Pitts is somehow still, we showed all the age stats, still considered a young player. They're two young offensive stars shine tonight, and Kirk Cousins continued to do what he does best at this point in his career, which is absolutely dunk on Todd Bowles, especially on Thursday Night Football. All right, let's get to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. Really disappointing game. Atlanta Falcons win probability, according to Next Gen Stats, was as low as 4.8% with 13 minutes and 29 seconds left in the fourth quarter. They were trailing 28-14. So, yeah, anything with 28, that's always got to be weird for the Falcons fans out there. But yeah, they were behind 28-14. They come back to win 29-28. Really bad for the Bucs here. According to NGS's model, their playoff chances dropped down to 53%, would have been 80% with a win. That's the thing. Like, these two games with the Panthers are really all that matters when it comes to the NFC South race. But nevertheless, it would be nice if you gave yourself some breathing room here. You know, the Panthers, they play the Saints this week. The Bucs just lost to the friggin' Saints last year. So it's a whole nother thing. Then going forward, we have the two matchups with the Panthers. At least the Bucs have the Dolphins in there. The Panthers have the Seahawks. That's not as great. But still, all that really matters is those two games down the stretch. But again, it would be nice if the Bucs had given themselves some breathing room here, because as we stand here right now, your Carolina Panthers are 7-6 and in first place in the NFC South. We'll see how Sunday goes. This offense has just been so frustrating for so long in Tampa Bay. I'll give you just kind of a fantasy take about the backfield here real quick, because I think that's not the biggest story, but just real quick to get it out of the way. I don't want to overreact too much to a one-game sample size, because Bucky Irving has scored a red zone touchdown at one point, but these last couple weeks, I'm starting to wonder if he's a little bit banged in that kind of empty calories touches for the running backs. Like, Rachaad White still played 41% of the snaps. He's mostly the passing down back, 16 routes to 14 for Bucky, as we're seeing here from Mike Florio of the NFL Network. You know, that's going to be a little bit of a problem if he's not out there for every passing snap. And then Sean Tucker is getting the goal line work. Sean Tucker consistently subbed in once we get down to the goal line. That does leave Bucky in a tough spot from a fantasy standpoint. If you're just going to be the between the 20s back and you're not going to play on passing downs, you're pretty much DOA if you're thinking about this guy as a running back one. And I say this as somebody that has Bucky Irving on a fantasy team. I got a first round bye on that team, so I didn't have to worry about this performance here, but a little nervous about Bucky next week. I mean, he's a fantasy starter, of course, but it's certainly a problem when you think about what is the next kind of game of usage going to look like for Bucky Irving? So definitely a little bit of a concern there, but not much actionable advice. Like, you're still playing Bucky Irving, but something that you might need to accept. He might not have that running back one type role. Baker Mayfield in the passing game. Baker, very disappointing in this one. And it's a lot of the same problems here that we've seen. And like, having Mike Evans back was awesome. Obviously, Mike Evans was second on the team in routes with 28, but ball placement was an issue for Baker Mayfield. He would take crushing sacks. Often those would happen in succession, like back to back here. Took 5 sacks on the night, lost 27 yards due to sacks. And it's like, he would either take the sack and then miss a throw with ball placement, or flip-flop it around. He'd miss a throw like that. Oh my God, the last one to Emeka Egbuka where he's running wide open. Like, that game is over if he places that ball. He might run for a long time with Egbuka and the game would be over. Instead, Baker puts it behind him and then on the next play takes a crushing sack. There was another one like that a few drives before there. That's just been, unfortunately, the theme for Baker here. The last, I want to say, month plus for Baker has been looking like this. And I don't know if he's hurt or what, but he's going to keep going out there, and I don't think he's suddenly going to get healthy down the stretch. So this is a problem for Tampa Bay, and it's a problem now for a wide receiver room that is pretty damn crowded. Like this, when Egbuka was drafted to the Bucs, and you thought, like, how is he going to get like consistent playing time? This is what it looked like. This is what you thought it might look like, where Chris Godwin leads the way with a 95% route participation. Mike Evans is 70% and got 12 targets, 6 catches, a ton of air yards, 49% of the air yards. Egbuka third with routes and second with air yards, 4 catches on 7 targets. He was incredibly efficient, 2.56 yards per route, but missed opportunities in the end zone with him and Baker Mayfield on Baker this time. Like, this was not a game where Egbuka came up short and like, oh, it's a little bit of him, a little bit of Baker. This was just when Baker was targeting Egbuka in this one, he was off. He was inaccurate. And then Jalen McMillan came back in this game and made a couple of big plays, including one deep reception. He had 20 routes, 50% route participation. Cade Otton didn't play, so the tight ends were by committee, and then Tez Johnson chipped in with 9 routes in this one. It was a kind of a rotation there at that wide receiver 2 spot, while Chris Godwin was the main man as the slot receiver, 51.7% snaps in the slot. So this is a bit of a messy wide receiver room now. Mike Evans, I mean, he's coming up with injuries in this one. You could see it. He's grabbing at his back. He's grabbing at his collarbone, but he was a freaking baller in this one, targeted on 43% of his routes. A lot of deep down the field looks, 22 yards per reception, 15.1 air yards per target. And it was really tough. It was a tough ending for this team. Jeremy Fowler is saying that they were visibly disgusted on the sideline in the final minutes. Mike is out there absolutely fighting. And for this team to lose this game, for Baker to throw that interception at the end, it's not all on Baker. Of course, it's a team game. I'm not saying it's all on Baker, but there's just so many missed opportunities for this team right now. That Falcons team, penalty after penalty after penalty after penalty. It was insane the amount of penalties the Falcons took, inopportune times, bad moments. And I could argue that the Bucs looked like the worst coached team in this game. So very disturbing performance from the Buccaneers, both I think from a real life standpoint and from a fantasy standpoint. It was awesome to see Mike Evans back. Hopefully you played him in this matchup. Didn't really know what his status was going to be. It wasn't a full-time player, but he was impactful when he got there. They just kept picking on some of the Falcons backup corners like Kobe Bryant. But regardless, now that he's back and Godwin's back, Egbuka's kind of rotating in. Like, I think this was a good game from Egbuka and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, all these guys. And even, like I said, Jalen McMillan, his presence really helped take the lid off of things, open things up for guys. You could see it on the Next Gen Stats broadcast, but it's crowded. The room is crowded, and the quarterback, if he was playing like September Baker Mayfield, I'd be, oh, hell yeah, man. Like, let's get all these guys out there. Let's see this offense rock. But right now, it's crowded and the quarterback's not playing well. That's a little bit of a troubling situation when it comes down to some of these fantasy matchups in the stretch run here. So I think a lot of these guys are, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 types. You can start them for sure, but man, with Baker playing the way he is right now, it's just not as comfortable a situation as it could be.